welcome all of you to this year's talk on this really catchy title, Patching Unpatchable Files. Before we start, some intro to me. I'm Anna. I'm an embedded systems engineer at Innovex. I have a background in embedded systems and a bit in electrical engineering. I'm mainly working as an embedded system consultant, doing lately mostly Yocto projects for several customers in several settings. But I'm also in embedded systems in general, in Linux kernel, but also in AOSP and Android Automotive. And let's start. Let's discuss what I mean with this unpatchable files title and why we speak about this here. What do I mean? I mean with unpatchable, for example, bbclass files. They are used to provide some abstract functionalities shared between several recipes and in common inherited into recipes via this inherit keyword. Some well-known BB classes are, for example, Archiver, Autotool, CMake, the image class file. This is basically one starting point for what for the reason I do exactly this talk here. I want not so much speak about .inc files, even if I mentioned them in the abstract, because in generally inc files are intended to be part of recipes and to encapsulate and share common behavior between normal recipes. You can include them via include or require in your recipe. And yeah, just keep the behavior in one location and not in several ones. And yeah, if they're used in normal BB recipes, it's just a recipe, just part of this from a bitbake point of view. And everything in there can be overwritten with bbappend. So it's not part of this talk in this case. But we also saw some layers which use .inc files to be included in BB classes, and in this case, yeah, it's not that easy to be overridden. Part of this talk. So two things. Why do we speak about this at all? Bit background on this. I did talk about one of my projects in the Vienna edition, in the live edition of this Yocto Summit. And there I presented in a side note a way how I use a CAS mechanism to patch class files in very specific way and for specific reasons. And the discussion this caused was a bit larger than I would have expected. Make me think about, okay, maybe we should do this again in a really separate talk and talk about how to deal with changes needed in especially BB class files. But yeah, before we start with how this can be done, we should take a second and go back and think about, do you really need to patch a BB class file in general? And I think in the most cases, if you want to patch a BB class file, change it in general, it's mostly user problem. So I think in really the most cases, just don't touch BB class files at all is a good advice. But as always, there are always some really valid reasons to do it. Simple changes shouldn't be the case. I think I tried to remove it, but for some reason it stayed here. This is not really a valid reason. But a really valid reason is if you need some behavior, the class is currently not ready to provide for you. And from my point of view, when copying to your own layer does not really make sense because of some effects of it, or if the class is used in the original layer itself. So copying would lead to some overhead. Or another, for me, valid reason is if you want to keep track of the upstream, for example, an LTS setting, and want to stay as close to the original class file as possible, and really keep track if something breaks. For example, if you try to submit the change to the upstream project. And yeah, in my setting, why did I need to modify an existing BB class? Basically, it's really simple. I wanted a dim-verity enabled image for use with Manda. Manda is not aware of it. Manda really uses this artifact image type, and just adding dim-verity as an ending isn't really working for several reasons. So I needed a basically really simple patch in, I think, 2 bbclass files. But yeah, I don't want it copied in my layer for some reasons. So the official solution for bbclass files, as just hinted, would be you can patch it. If you want to change it, just copy it in your own layer with the modification or work upstream. I really like this site by Ross from the mailing list because it really tells you everything you need to know. Patching bbclass files isn't an intended way to work in Yocto in general. Copying to your own layer is probably the most intended way to work. And yeah, upstream is, as always, the really gold solution. And I also think make the patches upstream is most probably the best solution if your patch is relevant for others too. And the same for me. This dim-verity thing is definitely something I need and I want to get merged in upstream Manda. Why it isn't done yet is just a bit of timing thing. But yeah, for the time it takes upstreaming and maybe backporting it to your LTS branch, you always need a quick solution that works and that works in your setting. And with just copying the bb class file to your own layer with modifications, you keep the full control over the class, but you also are fully responsible to keep it in sync with the upstream layer. It is currently the recommended solution in Yocto, but I think it always has some pitfalls in it, because with the way Yocto and Bitbake works through layers and passing the files, the ordering issue from the layers is always a bit tricky thing, and it's really easy to make some mistakes with that, and the file you want to have overwritten is not overwritten just because of a layer issue. So yeah, it works, but it has some pitfalls for you. No, that's not the right direction. In my case, this would have meant to me to enable the inverity in this bbclass files. I would have to copy the first bbclass file into my layer, manda artifact image .bbclass, which controls the image creation itself and needs to be patched. I would need to have copy manda part image.bbclass, which creates the YPS files during compile time. And both of them are directly used in the manda layer in manda setup.bbclass. So all in all, that are 3 bbclass files I need to copy in my own layer in this specific case. And another word for copying just files is vendoring. And my really personal opinion is I don't like vendoring at all, because the history, branch, tag information, everything is lost. You really easy get divergent states between the vendored version and upstream. Upstream updates are not directly go to your vendored file. You would need to take manual action. So also a bit And if the project moves on, and I'm a consultant, so I'm just for some point in time in the project, if they update and just forgot about this vendor file, maybe in future strange errors may happen in the image build, which are really hard to point down to the source of origin. And it's rather hard to notice it's because the original file and everything around has changed. So yeah, I'm not really a fan of this vendoring approach. But is there anything better out there? One idea is a variation of this full file copying. You can, in some cases, also create a .bbclass file in your layer with the same name and inherit from the original one. And then you can override the target function you want to change. It's still vendoring in some point, but you have a bit reduced scope. And this does not work in each case. For example, if it's not a class you want to override, or really dependent on what happens in this class. So it makes it a bit better, but it's, from my point of view, still not a really good solution. And with this in mind, I started to search the internet for what is better solution out there. I don't like the vendoring, but it's the official supported one. And I found some more or less good ideas in the internet. And the most of them are around utilizing the internal patch mechanism in bitbake in recipes. Or at least you could get the idea to utilize this patch mechanism if you don't read the things right and if you're a bit tired. But this is generally a bad idea, and I was so fascinated by this idea that I want to give you a short excursus in why is it a bad idea. So let us have a look at this. If you have your recipe in your source directory with some patch you want to apply, you could have get the idea. The patch mechanism in bitbake could apply this patch and to any file. This is just partly correct, but let us have a look on how it's working. In the do fetch step, you work with the source URI in the recipe file, specifying where to download the origin source you want to build from, but also this variable contains the path to some patches, for example. And all of this is copied into a working directory. For now, if you think you could apply the patch from there to the original recipe, we see the first thing that wouldn't work, because as do fetch is the first step and do patch the third one, everything you would change by the patch, by patching the initial recipe, couldn't target the first three steps, do patch, do unpack, and do patch. So the first thing that would not work. And also no recursive patching, because if you patch the thing and you afterwards need to reread the recipe, you would go into some unholy recursion loop, which is also not the thing that is intended and good to have. So wouldn't work, shouldn't work, and it's good. But the next thing, if you're in the patch, basically the whole source directory becomes invisible. Do patch is really working on the working directory, and especially on this $S variable directory. Mostly it's a Git directory downloading the source code. And this is where the patching mechanism is really working on. So do patch applies patches to recipe source files, which are located in this $S variable. This also means, for example, bbclass files do never reach the working directory. Patches can only apply to code in $S. Not a right mechanism, and in general, this idea is just a bad one. Does not work, but I found this way of thinking really fascinating, and just want to give you this short excuse why it's so fascinating but so bad. Now to the thing I used in the situation, and I really already presented in this last talk, the CAS patching mechanism. It's available in CAS, but it's basically barely documented. I have no clue what is the actual intended use case by Simmons. So for me, it's unknown. But for me, it also was really the thing I was looking for. It's clean, it's maintainable, it integrates in my existing workflow, and by just applying a patch after checking out the sources, the original mainstream layer directories, I make sure if something changes in the files I want to override, the patching mechanism will fail. It will really tell you this place is the bad thing. Keep your attention in here. So for my use case, this was really exactly what the thing I was looking for. And as said, I already used CAS, so really good match for me. And the way it works is also really easy. You have your CAS manifest file where you can add this patches entry, give it a name, say where does the patch comes from, what is the path in this repo the patch is in, and you can really say, here's my upstream, I want to patch this upstream layer. It's really clean, it really works well, and for me it was a really good solution. But yeah, how is it with other tools, other management tools? As far as I know, repo, bitbake layers, everything else common, the Yocto community does not support any patching mechanism. And things like writing your own script or hook or whatever, tooling around to apply patches also causes mixed feelings for me, because it's always another tool you introduce to your environment. Maybe the mechanism is error prone. For me as a consultant, also leaving projects, really a mixed feeling solution. So is there really the one thing to recommend? I think not, but to sum it up, what strategy is the best for you? I think the clear winner from my point of view is don't patch bbclass files at all if possible. If you need to patch, really ask yourself, am the problem, or is it really a thing? If it's really a thing, it's most likely you can and you should upstream your changes. And otherwise, if it's not intended to be upstreamed, or if you just need a solution until it is upstreamed and available for your release version, then think about what matches you need, copying the BB class files to your own layer, use CAS, use additional tooling. But remember, don't use any patching mechanism as a general solution. Yocto is working in a bit different way, so don't use it over the existing and really well-known workflows like bbappend. And keep in mind who will maintain your project in future. Minimize pitfalls for these people. Really keep in mind what would work best in this scenario. And if you overwrite bbclass files, really remember the layer ordering and not just only the priority, because this layer ordering is really a pitfall. And in the end, as said, as the solution really must fit your and the project needs, must be maintainable. Don't introduce tools like CAS if you're not already use it for other reasons. And don't create your own strange workflows mechanism from scratch. There are mechanisms. We already have enough tools and a slew of solutions. But From my personal point of view, I would also love to see something similar like bbappend for bbclass files to make a really clear documented solution for this. But I also see the point in how to avoid potential misuses and people utilizing such a mechanism for unmaintainable things and strange solutions no one wants to have. So in the end, do you all utilize or know other solutions or strategies? What do you think about this? I really would thank you for your time, for your attention, and I'm happy to discuss this further. You can also reach me on different channels, questions, chat, LinkedIn. I would really, really like to discuss this further.